Well, hello there. I'm Astrologer Eric Rosen, and welcome to this edition of your Sun Rising and Zodiac sign for the month of July. I'm kind of being facetious, mocking a news station reporter, probably on the heels of the collective energy we're feeling after the debates that just happened. I did not watch them. However, as an empath, I feel that stuff in the collective. So, what we're going to be talking about this month for your Sun, your rising sign, those two zodiacs for you, maybe they're the same one, maybe you're a double, rising and sun, that's pretty cool, is we're going to be getting into what's going on with Saturn retrograde. Now, don't let the term scare you, retrograde. I'll break that down for you. It's one of those things where it's review period. A planet appears to be going backwards from its usual orientation from the vantage point of Earth. And actually, it's an opportunity to really go in deep, reflect. It's more of like a receiving. It's not so much outwardly focused. So when you have the planet Saturn that deals with structure, discipline, karma, the reality of things, like the very physical, nuts and bolts of things. It rules Capricorn, which is an earth sign. So that's why it's a very physical thing. Saturn is got this fatherly energy. It can be a bit of a hard ass. It can be a little bit on the negative end, like Uncle Scrooge, like oh, you didn't do your work, you didn't do your chores. So here's your karma. It can feel like punishment to some people, but really Saturn just has this very mechanical nature typically about it in terms of what it yields. The positive of it being in Pisces is this Pisces is meant to be naturally graceful, compassionate, empathetic, where we can flow and surrender and tap into angels and intuition and God in these things. And the truth is, though, that it's hard, when Saturn's in Pisces. It's not a negative thing. It's just trying to be disciplined, trying to be structured in the zodiac sign that is the most open, energetic sign that there is, because it's just the boundless nature of the abyss of the spiritual places and the ethers that we can go to, and the higher level chakras and the interdimensions and all these different things. And but it's how do we focus, right? How do we focus on what it is that we actually want to bring our magic to? That's very Pisces energy, or our magic, our intuition, our elements of the things that we're doing, right? That we're really focused on, going, okay, this is what I'm reaping. And that's especially what has been Saturn direct these past 8 months. And so now for the next 4 months, we're going to have Saturn retrograde for the most of the rest of the year, where it's reaping what you sow. It's the harvest. So in the positive, it can definitely be manifestation of the karmic effort that you've already put in. But it can also be an opportunity, because Pisces is where our patterns are at, and because of the discipline of Saturn, to where we really need to examine how we've been showing up in our patterns. How are we showing up? Is the behaviors, right? The subconscious things that we're used to doing. This is a time where we can really take the time to put in disciplines into our life to reprogram our subconscious, kind of a very Joe Dispenza approach to things. He's got some really great material. Shout out to Dr. Joe. A lot of people know who he is. Really awesome opportunities to go and, if I want different results, because, Saturn produces the reality of things. If I want different results, especially in any area that's very spiritual or intuition, just wanting to live a more spiritual life, because Saturn does create a humble aspect of living spiritually. It's going to take the focus, it's going to take the discipline. So with the retrograde, it's almost like a homework period too. What can we do better at in our life to get the slop out of our lives? It can be better time management. It's just this opportunity to go, if I'm going to get to where I want to go in the long term, because that's why Saturn is you need discipline to get to where you want to go. Any dreams that you have, any Pisces dreams that you have, we've got to be willing to work with Saturn's energy. And Neptune is in Pisces, so it's really highlighting that there is a vision, there can be a spiritual vision for your life, but it's like, what steps are you taking in order to create, I guess you could say, not so much of a sense of mastery, but really just like well, it's going to happen. The vision, the spiritual dream that I have for my life, it's going to happen because I'm putting in the realistic effort of it. So the way that I'm going to approach your zodiac sign, your sun and your rising, is I want you to think about the approach is to how can you bring in spiritual disciplines in your life? How can you sharpen your tools? Iron sharpens iron, to connect better spiritually in your life, to God, to angels, your intuition, to create the reality that you want. And so what I'm going to be breaking down is like how I, as an astrologer, if I were your zodiac sign, your sun or your rising, what area would I be focusing on in life? How would I be approaching that? What shifts would I be doing? And also why, not just with the benefit of like not creating like negative karma, or it's also the long run of getting to where you want to go, but in that in-between place of getting to where you want to go, of actually being able to receive the harvest that Saturn retrograde brings. So it's like getting out of our own ways with our own subconscious, patterns of things. And that's really what spirituality is essentially designed to do, is to get us out of our own behavioral patterns to live a more magical lifestyle, if you will. So let's get into it, shall we? So first up, we have Aries. So Aries, if I were you, this is your 12th house where Saturn's at retrograde. I would be looking at, how can I connect better with God, with angels, with the divine? I would be looking at what discipline just like makes sense for your life the way that it is right now, without making it too difficult, on like, where can you meditate more, where can you pray more, and then just like really trusting that as you take those consistent steps and create a new behavioral change of like more ways of how can I bring more angelic connection into my life. Is it, just remembering to take conscious breaths as you're driving your car on the highway, or those moments where you're used to getting triggered, where you're like, oh, I hope this thing doesn't happen, right? I hope this thing doesn't happen where I'm like bothered by this. Like, where can you be more like subconsciously mindful of how you're showing up in your demeanor and giving grace and compassion? When you invite that energy into your life more, you stand to further your connection of your intuition with God, with angels, so that you can manifest the dreams that you're wanting to have, Aries. So when it comes to Taurus, this is your 11th house of people. So this is dealing very much with like looking at, okay, yes, develop your intuition through things like prayer, maybe some free writing, journaling, meditation, same things as I mentioned for all signs, where it's like, how do you connect with people better? How do you make sure that you're not isolated, but then also like not going too far the other way and almost like partying with people, or like not knowing when to say no to an invitation to go out and socialize, right? This is a very restrictive element to like really look at, like, are the people that I'm hanging out in my life, are they spiritual? Are they, do they have the same sense of mission, even like a freedom, growth oriented sense of purpose, with it being Saturn and Pisces, that they're wanting to go and do that? It's really asking yourself those like really open-ended questions, because it's very 11th house energy, right? So again, it could be free write journaling, it could be bringing that self-inquiry of those questions into your meditations, again, prayer, like asking to be shown, like, what different improvements can you start to make to adjust things, especially if you're seeing, patterns that you don't like when it comes to friends groups and community, people. This could even be social media as well. So when it comes to Gemini, I would definitely be finding the highest peak elevation that you can find in your local environment, whatever feels like a hill, a mountain if you have one, and sitting on that mofo and using prayer to ask the divine, like, show me, like, I've went this far on my sense of purpose, sense of mission, career for some, or, those all mixed together. Now, what can I improve upon? What can I adjust? right? Where can I throw out some patterns and subconscious behaviors that actually is making it take longer to get to where I want to go? Like for you, Gemini, especially because Saturn likes to be in the 10th house, it's a very focused, restrictive energy where it's like, I want to go in this direction. I don't want to deviate from the path, because it's really hard to pivot with Saturn energy and 10th house energy, right? It's like you're going up the mountain, right? You're climbing the ladder. So it's really looking at those questions and taking that into prayer, meditation, like really getting that clarity. And what I like for you, Gemini, is that the answer will be pretty simple. The more sincere that you are, the more dedicated that you are, the more, love, compassion, empathy that you bring to the situation of just like accepting whatever challenges have already shown up, whatever challenges that you're going to have to like work through, even if it feels like it was knotted in your own mind, because there's a reveal that wants to come these next few months, these next 4 months of Saturn retrograde, that like wants to give you, I would say, either probably refined spiritual tools. They may not be new, but it's almost like polishing your tools to like where you can wield your magic even better for whatever it is that you're dedicated to in your life. Now, if you're not feeling like you're getting the results that you want, this could also be a time of asking the question, like, how do I even just get to that first next step on the mountain to really dedicate? Saturn retrograde is going to be your homework assignment of going, how dedicated are you really to getting to where you want to go? It's going to be showing you those places where you can make those adjustments. So when it comes to Cancer, this is your 9th house. So this has definitely been an explorative time with Saturn direct. All the things spiritual in terms of like, what can I adjust to my reality? Like, what can I do differently in terms of, foreign beliefs? Like seeing like some beliefs may seem a little too far out there. Some may seem like beneath you. And so this is like a calibration period of going, well, let me review what experiences have I had these past 8 months. I would, if I were you, Cancer, I would really get out the journal and just like free write and just like highlight all your experiences that you've had these past 8 months. Whatever you can remember is fine. Saturn in Pisces will help you remember. And then I want you to highlight if there's a common theme or a common pattern, especially around your reactions to the experience, right? And so then if you're wanting to have a different, more spiritually aligned experience going forward in life, you're wanting to experience more of the magic in life, you're wanting to develop your intuition more, whatever it is that you're wanting to do that's on the spiritual path, I would look at going, is this experience that I had producing this feeling that I'm having, this patterned emotional reaction or response, depending on how poised you are? Is it because of the experience, or is it because I'm expecting a certain experience because of a belief? I hope that's not too complex, Cancer, but it's basically like, do that exercise and see that maybe it's that if you're expecting things to go a certain way because of a pattern belief in things, that it's like work on changing the belief these next 4 months, instead of like trying to go out and push a new experience to try to like expand your life or your reality or make it better or more positive somehow, when maybe it's like you just need to like, you need a tune-up. It reminds me of like, you need to go like work with the mechanic in the book and the movie The Way of the Peaceful Warrior for a little bit, and like some of that humble peaceful warrior energy, to see that it's like it's not the experience, it's your belief and your demeanor and like how you approach it. So I would use that free writing exercise to find out what's that common denominator or thread. I wouldn't assume what it is. I would actually be okay with like intuitively journaling and finding out like what's there. You might be surprised. So when it comes to Leos, this is your 8th house. So the mystery house, Leos. So, you've been navigating the terrain of the mysteries of life, perhaps things related to sexuality or power, money dynamics and things like that. And maybe it's run you down a little bit these past 8 months because, Saturn is sort of like trying to push something really heavy through a dark tunnel, and you don't really know how far it is. You have an idea of like when it's going to be over time wise, but it's hard to know exactly like how far you are. And even when you do check in on the milestone of like, okay, I'm putting in all this effort spiritually into my life to try to manifest what I want. It's like that chase, that spiritual hunger to go out and get something that you're wanting to bring into your reality. And so this can bring up a little bit of like spiritual exhaustion because it requires a lot of energy and it requires a lot of like renewal. For you, Leo, like energetic hygiene, I think, is a really big deal for you right now, is how I would use this. I would be using all your energetic hygiene practices that you have and even, adding to them if you're not satisfied and not getting the results that you want, if you're not feeling spiritually aligned. Like honestly, Leo, you should, because you're a Leo, be feeling like super potent regardless of Saturn direct or Saturn retrograde, because it's still an energy that's saying like you've got enough spiritually in the tank that if you're disciplined and you're focused and determined enough that you'll get what you want. But you've got to know how to have love, compassion, empathy, things that bring in higher vibrational energies to keep you going. So I would be looking at your resource list during this time for those energetic hygiene practices. Let's see, we're on to Virgo now. So Virgo, this is your 7th house. So relationships. So, it's an interesting time, I think, for you, Virgo, because it's like, I'm sure you've been committed in your relationships to however you've been showing up. You probably made a determination that it's like, I'm going to show up to this thing no matter what, see where it goes, even if there were, things that came up here and there of like little patterns, especially around like conversations, conversational patterns. It could be disagreements, like maybe they get like a little too heavy or blown out of proportion, but then there's other times like where when you're in agreement with something, it feels like super magical and you feel like, oh, like this could be forever. You're my friend or my relationship forever or whatever, right? So it's like kind of that like two sides of the seesaw, so to speak. So I think the Saturn retrograde is going to be bringing up for you how to like balance things out better in your relationships. It's a bit of a doozy, Virgo, because I think that for you, it's using what resource, it's pulling in new resources, honestly. It's like, I don't think that the ones that you've been using, especially like if there's been challenges in your relationship, which a lot of relationships are a challenge, that you're going to have to like find a new tool to help you get the harmony that you want in your relationship that I think that you're wanting to manifest. And I think that you do that by considering things like there's forms of conscious, communication, right? Of like expressing what your need is, of expressing what the expectation is. It's a pretty good book called Nonviolent Communication is a good resource. It can really just even be the basics if you're going to be evaluating your relationships, if you want to stay committed to them or not, which I would. Maybe you need like a reality check and boundaries, physically, emotionally too, and like writing down, for one, the pros and cons list of, okay, here's the positive if I stay in the relationship, here's the negative, you're weighing it out. Then I would say that it's going, okay, like, well, when there are, disruptions, like what is the thing that happens like right before the disruption, the disagreement? And then what is the thing that happens after? You almost just want to like isolate the pattern of what's going on in your relationships, the before and after of like any challenge point, so that you're not like weighing out and juggling too much and trying to figure out too much subconsciously on how to like make your relationships more magical. And to really just like keep it basic like that, to like not go too far. Like Saturn's there to help you focus and restrict and find like what's going to like work better for you so that you don't like seesaw too much, like peeling rose petals of like, and like creating the delusional belief that like a relationship is bad or that it's even good, not actually like weighing out the criteria. So that's how I would use that, Virgo. When it comes to Libras, it's the fall season now. We are with Libras. Well, Libra, I love you. This is a challenge because out of every sign, it's the most reality check of them all because it is your sixth house of the day-to-day realities. So the positive is that if you use this time to make changes, you will reap better results where the present moment feels more peaceful. I guess you could say kind of like more at home, and more so it feels at home because kind of like a father like creates the construction, the physicality of the home, like archetypally speaking, right? Like that you're creating your own sense of housing for yourself and like how to like feel good energetically, how to find your flow in your day-to-day life. This brings up, your schedule, your health, your work, even a little bit of communication things with people. So I would be using this time really to find pockets of silence at any moment that you can, to like slow down any stress that's being created by mental chatter and drop in as deep as you can, almost like being the Jedi that can just like drop into meditation on the busy subway train. Like she can meditate anywhere and feel into like what is present in the moment, what's present in your aura, what's present in your reality. Like use your spidey sense, your intuition to see like what is showing up in the moment, because you don't want it to get too, you don't want to like over focus during this time of like, there's got to be a perfect solution. There's got to be a perfect model. There's got to be a perfect system to make my life better. It's like, well, it's in the minutia. It's in the details. It's going to be, Sherlock Holmes, a calm Sherlock Holmes, like that doesn't feel pressured by like some deadline. Like, oh, I got to crack this case for this client. Like it's due on Sunday or something. And take your little magnifying glass and just be very calm and in the present moment and serene, and see like what is reality chirping back to you, right? Like, and it can feel positive, I think, if you accept the fact that, these are karmic times, and then it's always meant to bring you back into a more of a magical track of things. So like whatever it is, like whether it's a challenge that feels really significant or it's a few minor challenges in life, whatever it is, Libra, I think the way that you pull yourself out of any feeling that you might have been into, like the doldrums of, oh shit, this is how it's going, and almost getting like Eeyore like low vibration stuff, you got to keep your head up and just like keep looking at what are the little shifts of patterns that you can make by dropping into that very meditative state. It could be hours on the meditation pillow, but like honestly, I think the present moment of wherever you're at is going to show you more than even that. And just pay attention to what those shifts are. And then I would write them down, or if you have a good memory, just, apply them. Apply them as immediately, as practically as you can. Like once you see that pattern, don't even wait. Make the change, not in like a rush way, but it's a decision. It's just a decision and going, okay, I'm moving on from this. I'm changing this pattern. I'm changing this energy by just deciding that it's going to be different, and trust your subconscious mind to reprogram it. So when it comes to Scorpios, well, Scorpio, this is your fifth house of love. So love, romance, self-love, your passion, your creativity in a way. So this is an interesting time, Scorpio, because you're definitely going through a review period love-wise. Your love for life, love for just the passion for yourself, for your relationships, romantically or even with children. So this retrograde period is definitely going to be assessing, okay, like what's the damage if there's heartbreak. If things have been going well, it's going, okay, like well, things are going well, but maybe there's some things that we can still do better. How do you patch the heart, so to speak? This could bring up grief, Scorpio, like, because it's fifth house, because it's like, yeah, it's processing joy, but it could also be processing grief as well. I think the best thing that you can do that Saturn's going to be teaching you during this karmic time of reaping what you sow is like to keep your heart open regardless. To go, you know what, like no matter what the reality is, no matter what the pattern is, I'm going to continuously keep my heart open to love, empathy, grace, compassion, and in a very fixed fifth house type way, I'm going to see this through. I'm going to see it through. Like I have this determination, I have this passion, I have this thing that I want in my life that I'm very, motivated on a courageous level to have. Now, then it's asking yourself the question, and I feel like it's asking your heart the question emotionally now, what can I adjust? What can I do better? I don't think you're going to have to search far, Scorpio, because it's like it's already on your heart. So really it's just taking a moment to get out of any fears or maybe they're like delusions or illusions, wherever things are going, and just like drop into the heart and go, what's real for me? Oh, that's right. That's my sense of purpose. That's my vision. That's what I want. That's my passion. Okay, well, this is the circumstances. Now, how can I adjust? And really connecting spiritually too, because connecting to your heart naturally is going to connect you to spirit too. It's that chakra that connects the higher chakras, the lower chakras. So even if that practice feels difficult at first to go in there to the heart, just practice it. And if it feels hard, it's like, well, maybe that's where the grief is at. Maybe that's where sorrow and hardened emotions are at, or apathy or other things that keep you from feeling the expansiveness of your heart, of your joy. And that's not a bad or a wrong thing. It's just showing you where the work is at. It's showing you what Saturn wants you to work out on a heartfelt emotional level, so that you can find a more enthusiastic, long-term committed way for the motivation and the passion of the thing that you know that you really want in life, Scorpio. So moving on to Sagittarius. Sag, this is your home life, your fourth house. So home, family, the deep dwelling of your emotions. How deep does the rabbit hole go with your emotions? Could be self-care, just the domestic, private life stuff, the opposite of being in the public eye. So, which is really interesting because Saturn's preference is to be like in 10th house Capricorn energy, where it can like get the trophy in that. For you, it's more like the achievement thing is going to be you making decisions, shifting your reality and going, okay, like what are my patterns that are playing out that maybe have felt a little crazy because it's in your private life, so you don't have to expose it. With Saturn, you can keep it really contained. But Saturn's going to be teaching you like, well, people may not see it, or you may not talk about it fully, or you might be strategic in how you talk about your personal life, which is fine. But it's going, hey, remember, there's a long term to this. Like you got to nourish the deep, very emotional, spiritual roots of things, so that your tree is so freaking strong, the tree trunks, the tree root of wherever it is that you're wanting to go, Scorpio, God, Sagittarius, that you'll stand the test of time, that whatever storms like blow through, like you'll be like, I'm okay, I'm good, like not fazed by it, rooted. I did the homework, I listened to Saturn, I listened to the gentle whisper of, this could feel like your intuition of your inner child, your higher self, but just whatever source of inspiration spiritually that feels the gentlest, the softest, the sweetest, that you connect with intuitively, your angels, God, whatever, any of those things, like listen to that voice especially, or however you tune into your intuition, and then make those adjustments in a way that feels maybe a little bit nostalgic, of like, oh, this is how I used to tuck myself in at night when I was a kid, or oh, this is how I used to care for myself. Because this is almost like an interesting paradox, Sagittarius, for you, because it's like it can feel like endings and restarts for your home life, or emotionally, or like planting the seeds for your longer term reality. But it's also being okay with just like the very basics of just like taking care of yourself. And if there's any, it sounds weird, but long-term memory loss of like, how did I used to take care of myself? Like you're used to going out and expanding and socializing and go here and there, that you go back to like, well, what was it like when I did know how to take care of myself? Like, when did I feel my most spiritually poised? When did I feel my most focused in my personal life to where I didn't feel off kilter? Even when things happened, I was okay. And even if you got to go back to your adolescent years or your childhood, because you going into those core memories, kind of like the movie Inside Out or Inside Out 2 that just came out. I haven't seen it yet, but good movies to watch. Movies are very divinely timed too for, spiritual messages. So it's like maybe part of your comfort of your self-care is watching a movie. It's very Pisces, Sagittarius, to like almost like spark something within yourself, some like nostalgia of what was it? What was it that you just did? Because if you can go into those core memories, remember what that thing is, then you're taking that and then you're applying it as a source of inspiration to go, okay, well, that's what I used to do. Now here's the reality of what is realistic that I can do in my private life. I've got a family, I've got this and this and this. Use your imagination to go, how can I produce this same emotional poise of self-care for myself? Not to like recreate the nostalgia specifically, but what is the essence that you felt? What was the thing that just felt the sweetest when you knew how to take care of yourself that way? And then how do you bring that sweetness to the new reality, the new circumstances of things? May seem complex, but it's like, just what was that greatest, sweetest thing? And then go, okay. And if you're not sure, write a list, brainstorm a list, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Like, here are some things that I can do to produce that sweetness of what it felt like whenever I was a kid and I just like didn't force myself to do my homework right away. I gave myself an hour of cartoons and my parents were cool with that. And then I did my homework and like that felt like self-care. I didn't like push all these domestic responsibilities, that you had, and then you just gave yourself the break. And then it's like, oh, well, where do I maybe, what are things that I can do to break up the monotony of the disciplines and the challenges like in the home life and give myself a break and maybe not rush so much and go do this sweet self-care thing. And like, what would that thing look like? That's how I would use that, Sagittarius. So when it comes to Capricorn, this is your third house of the mind, and Saturn is your ruling planet too. So I think it's a really important time for you to, I'll be honest, any forms of therapy that work on the mental level, because Saturn's a challenge in your third house in Pisces, because while it wants you to focus on what's the facts of life and things like that, there's two sides of the coin, and it's easy to kind of like subconsciously flip around on like factually like what's really going on in your life. And so sometimes like getting in there like gently and like finding out like what's going on in because it's both your subconscious with the Pisces, but it's also your conscious thinking mind with third house. So it's like you've got a lot going on mentally. So it's like maybe you need like that twin person with being your third house, which is a Gemini energy, to reflect back to you what's going on. So, it could be traditional forms of therapy, EMDR. It could be going to a sound bath. It could be going to a meditation group. I think it's just really good for still a community aspect of things. I think it's a good time to like not try to do things alone. Capricorn, I think you don't want to use this time to like isolate your mind. I think that you want to like kind of like more see like where can you just like connect with people, even if it's just like one-on-one, to like have positive conversations that are actually reflective to show you the things that you can do better in life on the mental level to focus better. This could be developing better daily habits and routines that keep yourself from like, whether it's like escaping or, or fear-based stuff, so that you can get into more of your still using your imagination type thinking of like thinking optimistically while still holding that gap between the facts of the reality and like where you want to go. So that's how I would use the poise of this retrograde, is to work through those things on the mental level with people, and then that can be a way to like give you the encouragement, the sort of like Saturn, like father, like coach, you can do this type energy, to hold the vision, still accepting how things are, and not like giving one way or the other, like not giving way. Like it's hard because it's almost like holding a little bit of tension on your mind, like you can't just ignore the facts, but you also just can't just be like, well, this is the facts and this is it, it's not going to change, and like shoot yourself in the foot and get like depressed or something because you're not holding a vision for yourself, Capricorn. It's like you just got to keep believing that it gets better while just like working through the things that are coming up. And if there's any challenges of things that just seems like, wow, this thing's just like not changing, then it's like, I think you got to evaluate and, on a deep spiritual level, especially deep within yourself, of like, do I need to pull out of this thing and do something completely different? Or is it just a few little changes to make? Maybe it's just the way that you approach things on the mental, subconscious level, that it's not so much about changing too much of the reality. And so you can check in with those people for that too, Caps. So when it comes to Aquarius, this is your second house, money, self-worth. So I hope you've been putting in some good effort, Aquarius, these past 8 months, in terms of your demeanor, your effort, that whatever you've been manifesting, creating, co-creating with others, maybe, or maybe you felt a little isolated because this is Pisces, that hopefully you at least know how to work with some spirit guides so that you can tune into those energies spiritually to like help you stay connected to, okay, I have work, I have effort, I have things that I'm creating, but making sure that your talents match, that the self-worth matches. So I think for any place that you're not feeling positive, that the material gains of this retrograde, or you're just not feeling like super confident, this is where it's going to go. Saturn's going to be like, well, here's the pattern shift, the pattern interrupt. It's going, are you using enough of your skill set? Are you using enough of your magic, especially your spiritual abilities, in this reality in a focused way that puts in the effort? Or are you repressing, suppressing your gifts in order for like stability, or like a relationship or a money situation or a living situation? And see that it's like, it's not that you have to give away the practicality of it. Saturn won't like that, but it's to go, okay, like, well, Saturn does deal with time, and it's like, well, know that you have enough worth and ability to like assess your life and the schedule and just like the things that you're putting effort into, and go, well, how much effort am I putting into this? How much effort am I putting into that? I would really look at like this in terms of time, like how much effort, focus is actually going into social media? How much effort is going into worrying versus how much effort is going into manifesting your dream life just by, your manifestation rituals? Is there a program or something that you've been working on, or a thing that you have been wanting to work on that uses your skill set that you need to like want to put some more effort into, and somehow it's like a weekend project, but it just like hasn't, it's like, oh, I'm tired, or something, and just like, I haven't put the effort in like fully and I need to find more time for it. I think it's just being very realistic to go, what are your favorite things to do, right? The things that you value. I would get really clear on that, listing out your values, seeing what skill sets, talents it's going to take to realize those values of success in terms of real-time reality, to really spiritually make it happen real. Like, for example, if you're wanting, I don't know, a spiritual relationship that's like long-term, when you identify, well, one skill set of that is that I've got to be, flexible enough to like make time in my schedule to go out and date and do trial and error and, see what the patterns are with who I'm attracting and who's showing up and what my patterns are of how I feel about it, and then work through those subconscious patterns of like the values of what you want in that relationship or a self-worth thing, and then go, okay, well, that's where the work is at, but it's like, you got to still like put the effort in. You got to like put the effort in to get like the feedback to be like, oh, okay, that's what the reality is showing up. That's the pattern. Okay, cool. Let me go do the homework on it. Let me go make that adjustment. So, and then on money situations, I would say it's really the same thing. It's going like, what is the pattern? Has money been consistent, or has it been like real highs, real lows? I think it's kind of going into your intuition, your oracle, if you will, and asking some big questions and going, what do I value? How much money do I want to have? What are the ways that I want to make money? I think it's like leaving it fairly open-ended in the sense of like, okay, like I see where I can shift these things by just answering some core value questions of what it is that I really want, and I can actually develop a plan of effort to shift things around and go in that direction. So last but not least, Pisces. So Saturn and Pisces in your sign retrograde, this is the focus on you. So I would say Pisces, there's not a whole lot I think you're going to be learning different here, because I don't think that a retrograde in your sign is going to change a whole lot, because you're still going to be motivated by what it is that you want and who you are. And so, it's like seeing yourself in the mirror, and now you're just like looking at yourself in the mirror in a little bit different way. You're just assessing yourself a little bit differently, but it's still a self-reflection piece. So I would more look at this as a time of like going, okay, well, am I feeling strong about my identity and what I want and what I'm going after? How are the results showing up? And what tweaks can I now make? Like really check your intuition and your subconscious and just really ask the question. I think you'll get the answer quick. Like, am I putting in the right effort in the right direction? Is it showing up? Is it divinely timed? Like, or am I stalling or delaying myself by holding myself back? Those are some self-inquiry questions I would be asking yourself, Pisces, and I think the answers will come quick, but you can journal on that as well. I would still stay driven during this time, of motivated and going and getting what it is that you want. If there's any feelings during this time of lethargy or tired, just push through it. No, I'm just kidding. Be okay with like getting some rest, like if you're really feeling tired, like don't push yourself to the brink of exhaustion, even if you feel like you're there. Take it as a time that rest doesn't mean stop life altogether, or like sleep for 12 hours necessarily, or 18 hours. It could just mean, oh, I'm just tired because I just need to like sit here and just kind of reflect on the direction that I'm heading in life and see like, how do I spiritually feel about this? Like, is there different decisions that I need to make about my identity or how I see myself? And, if you're wanting to change things about yourself, your identity, your behavioral patterns, I think the Joe Dispenza work that man does would probably be perfect for you right now, Pisces, because it's really, he has a book called Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself. And so because this is the focus on yourself, if you're wanting to change who you are, your habits, your behaviors, and thus your routines, the results of your life, I think it's going in and focusing on that piece of it. So that's a wrap. If anyone wants to get a natal chart astrology reading, they're $175. I'll have that link down below. Same thing for a deep dive astrology reading. If you're wanting to go way deep down the rabbit hole into like, how are these current cycles hitting you? It's called a deep dive astrology reading. That one's $250. I'll leave the link for that comments below. Sometimes people ask me, what's the difference? The natal chart is like just basic. You were like Lady Gaga, like you were born this way, baby. Like the influence of the cosmos of when you were born to learn more about yourself, like know thyself. But for those that are maybe a little bit more savvy, like know a lot about themselves already, and they're just more wanting like guidance from an astrologer, or you're wanting to understand the cycles that you're in because you're especially like considering different decisions during the Saturn retrograde, that would be the deep dive astrology reading. I would use it for that. And then of course I do offer other things as well: hypnosis, rebirthing breath work, just different types of energy work with what I call celestial shamanism. I work with spiritual divination energies like angelic realms for healing in that way, and that's very shamanic capacity. Yeah, those are the mainstays. So for anyone that's looking for guidance in those areas, especially because Saturn retrograde does bring up, you know, looking at, are we committed spiritually to our purpose too? This could be a good time for a realignment of that, making those adjustments. So those links will be down below. Hope to see you guys there. If not, I will see you on the next monthly report for your sun rising zodiac sign. Enjoy Saturn and Pisces retrograde. We've got 4 months total of this, but you know, everyone knows what it's like to procrastinate on making changes and doing the homework and patterns, and catches up with you, and it can feel a little crazy and overwhelming. But if you just focus and see what life is asking you to change based upon the areas that I described here today, that I would encourage you to focus on based on your sun and rising, I think it will go that much better. You'll feel that much better about life because you basically pulled your own bootstraps up, so to speak. Like you put the work in, and of course you got the win, the trophy, the spiritual effort. The angels want to help you, but they also align with your physical reality focus of your efforts and your changes in life. So love you all.